Hey there, my name's Alex, and in this beekeeping video, there's a couple of interesting things which I'm going to do. One of those things is transferring bees from one hive into another. I was given this Warre hive a few months ago. It's the tall one, that tall one that looks very different from those two. That's a Warre hive, and then my other two are called national hives. It's basically just the sizing of the hives, and I want to run all my beehives on the same equipment just to make things easier for me as a beekeeper. So my plan is to go inside that Warre hive, cut the comb out and try and transfer it all into a national sized hive. It should all become a lot clearer when you see the whole process happening. Now the other thing which I want to do, it's going to be a bit of an experiment, but I want to try requeening one of my hives. Now the two colonies that I got through the winter that survived, they didn't seem as strong as my colonies did last year at this same time. Now that might be a little bit down to the weather. This spring has been nothing like last spring, but it could also be down to the genetics and the quality of the queen. Now the queen that I have in the furthest away hive has a yellow dot on its head, which means it's about 2 years old now, which is quite old for a queen, and over time the quality of a queen goes down. So I'm going to try something a bit new. I'm going to requeen the colony. That basically involves getting rid of the old queen and then introducing a new queen, and I've managed to source some really good quality queens. You might be wondering, what makes a good quality queen? Well, there's people out there who breed queens and they're picking the best genetics that they can find. The things that the queen bee breeders are looking for are bees that don't sting, like non-aggressive bees, bees that produce lots of honey, bees that are resistant to diseases, and the bee farmers are trying to capture those traits all into one queen bee. And then the queen bee obviously is the bee which lays all the eggs, so it passes on all those genetics to all the other bees. So we are going to try requeening one of my colonies with a fresh new 2024 bred queen bee. Now making sure the hives are healthy is top priority for a beekeeper, otherwise they won't perform at 100%. And in much the same way, it's important that us people prioritize our health, especially our mental health. Now BetterHelp is a place where you can find a professional therapist that is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. I've always found that talking things over with either a friend, a family member or an experienced therapist makes you feel a lot better. If there's something that I'm worrying about, I talk to someone and it always helps. And BetterHelp makes this a quick, simple and easy process. To use BetterHelp, you simply go onto their site. I'll leave a link in this video's description. You answer a few questions and BetterHelp will match you with a therapist who has had over 3 years and 1,000 hours of hands-on experience helping people with struggles like yours. The easiest thing about online therapy like this is that you can do it on your computer or on your phone, and by any means you like. You can message, phone call, video call, whatever suits you best. You'll be matched with a therapist, usually within 48 hours, so you can get started nice and fast. If you want to get started and join the 4 million plus people who have used BetterHelp to improve their mental health, then go to betterhelp.com/justalex or choose Just Alex during the sign up for a special discount of your first month. Thank you BetterHelp for supporting this channel. Now let's do some beekeeping. Now loads of people have been asking me what bee suit I have. Now I'm really proud of this bee suit. It did cost me about 160 quid, which is quite expensive, but it is so comfortable. And it's got like this nice material that lets air in. So in the summer, I can just take my t-shirt off and trousers off, and then the air flows through and it's still nice and yeah, you don't get too hot. Anyway, this suit is the Swainty Breeze. That's all it says on here. That is my beekeeping suit. I've got it in a large size. I'm 6'3", and it fits me perfect. So recently I got this cool little tool, and this sticks to the side of the van, and then you can put the smoke in. How cool is that? Because basically when I leave my bees, the smoker is still hot and burning. And when I drive home, I don't want it in the back of the car because it smokes up. I don't know if that magnet will hold on the whole way home. I guess we have to just try it and see. So this is the hive which has the old queen in that I think we're going to replace. First, I want to just have a little inspection of the hive and see how it's doing, because it might be not as bad as it was. They've got this feeder here because I've been feeding them to try and help them out. Like I said, they were really slow to get going this spring, and I was trying to just help them wherever I could. They have expanded a lot larger. See, when I first moved them into this hive from the other box, they were sort of just this section, and they've expanded into all those frames. And that's happened in the last few weeks. Give them a few puffs of smoke to make them all go down. I'm gonna just look through the hive now and see what it's looking like. So that's the edge of the colony, so they haven't done anything. They've still got quite a lot of space in here to do stuff. They're storing food in this frame because that's got some weight to it. There's nectar and I guess the sugar syrup that I've been feeding them in there. No brood in that frame. I think I can see eggs in the bottom of the cells on this frame. So that frame is full of brood. You can see all the capped over brood in there, that's good. So the queen is laying a lot more than she was. I think I read somewhere that if a frame like this is all capped over with brood, that will hatch into 3 frames of bees. So when they actually hatch out, they'll actually cover 3 frames. So there's the queen bee, which I'm going to replace. Now the process of requeening a hive is a little bit brutal. It will involve having to kill this queen because you can't have 2 queens. If you introduced a new queen in here, they would kill it. And although it's a little bit sad that I'm going to get rid of this queen that has been with me for a couple of years, it's for the greater good.
How can this be for the greater good? The greater good. Shut it!
I'm sure with a new queen that was born and bred this year, it will make this colony super strong and it'll have all the good genetics which has been bred for. And she's gone. I feel like a terrible human, but this colony is going to get a new queen soon, and it's going to be a really good quality queen, hopefully. Trust me, bees, things will get better. So now that this colony doesn't have a queen, they're going to try making one from the eggs that are in here, because they can raise a new queen from the eggs that that queen has laid. But of course we don't want those genetics, we want the new queen. So what we'll do is we'll come back to this hive in 8 days time, and we will find all the queen cells that these bees have made and remove them. Once they're removed, we can then add the new queen. So that's all we have to do with this hive. That's that done. So that is the first step taken with requeening this hive. The old queen is gone, ready for a new queen. Oh wow, it's looking pretty good. There's a raven over there, sounds like a raven. Croaking. Oh, that's a nice sight. There's all brood that will hatch out soon, so that one frame will turn into 3 frames of bees. And it's the same the other side. Sometimes the bees build this drone comb, which you don't really want there. I'm just going to remove that just to make things easier. So we found the queen in this hive. Now I kind of want to try maybe taking a split from this hive. Got this nifty little device here where I can catch queens in, and then I can hold them, because the queen you want to keep safe at all times, and you can just catch the queen in that, leave it to one side whilst you manage the rest of the colony. Okay, this hive's looking pretty good. Most of these frames are covered in brood which will hatch out soon. The queen seems to be laying pretty well. I'm going to take a quick break and then we're going to get stuck in with this Warre hive and transfer it into a normal hive. Currently behind the hives there's such a nice display of wild garlic flowers. I actually saw a honeybee on them very briefly the other day, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I see another honeybee over there now. So they're obviously of use to the honeybees, these wild garlic flowers, but not all flowers are. Like lots of flowers, they're not the right shape for the honeybee to get their tongue into. But over the past couple of weeks, I've been going for a few walks on the nicer weather days, and I've been seeing so many flowers about, which is a really nice sign, because whenever I see flowers, I think of my bees. Dandelion City apple. All of that is food for bees. My dad's tortoise also eats dandelions. You enjoying that nectar? The bluebells are out as well. Beautiful. Honestly, I love a spring countryside walk. Everything is just coming to life. I'm in a field full of flowers. Look at the views. I am so lucky to keep my bees in this part of the country. Wow. I'm gonna finish off eating my apple. I went to a bluebell wood recently. Now in England, we get such incredible displays of bluebells. I think we're lucky enough to have like the best bluebell population in the world, and we have quite a few of these amazing carpeted bluebell woods in late April. I was seeing loads of honeybees feeding on them. Interestingly, the honeybee, I don't think its tongue isn't long enough to go into the bluebell flower the normal way, so they actually get round the back of the flower and then stick their tongue into like a little gap around the back. I was watching these bees for hours, and it was quite fascinating how they didn't use the usual technique of going into the flower. Yeah, they found a back entrance where they can suck the nectar out. The hawthorn trees are now flowering. In fact, lots of trees are. This tree up here, this sycamore, they have these dangling flowers. Basically every single plant, actually not every plant, because ferns, I believe, have spores, not flowers, but most plants have flowers. And those flowers need to be pollinated. Some plants, like grasses, like wheat and barley, I think are pretty much just wind pollinated. They're not much use to a honeybee, and sweet corn as well. But flowers which sort of look beautiful, they're there with nice petals and bright colours to attract the pollinators in, so they can get a helping hand with pollinating. And at the same time, they look really nice to us too. I can actually see quite a lot of honeybees on this wild garlic. I just hope the honey doesn't taste of garlic. That wouldn't be good. Anyway, that's my little sit down break over. I'm gonna get inside the Warre hive and see if we can't transfer all the bees and the comb into a national sized hive. And then I can manage all my colonies with the same equipment, and it should be a little bit easier. So what we've got here is the original hive with all the bees in. We've got a new hive here, which these bees will eventually go into. And then I've made up a few of these frames with elastic bands. These are here so I can cut out some of the comb, and then hopefully it will stay within this elastic bands. It's just a temporary solution to hold things in place. I've then got a Warre hive tool, a bucket to put any honey in, and then another bucket which is just any excess wax. Now, an important thing to remember is that these bees know that exact area as their entrance. So the first thing we're going to do is move this hive over here, and then all the flying bees will return to the new hive that I put in that one's place. And now we can put this stand here. Now these bees will currently be a bit confused. Now you can see they're all going over there. Now we've got to get inside this box. It's a bit of a crazy situation we got here. Now the queen is going to be in here somewhere, and we've got to be careful we don't damage her. Whoa, look at that, that's a block of honey, and we're going to put that in our clean bucket where hopefully no bees are going to get in. That frame we managed to get out without breaking it off the wood. There's so many bees in the air right now. Now we're reaching the brood nest. So on this frame you can see honey here, but then there's the start of the brood nest. The brood nest will expand down, and that is, like, we want to keep this because these bees will hatch out. So I'm going to try and fix this into one of my frames. This is also good because they have like a load of food stored, so they've got everything they need. Food, new bees being born, some pollen, but we're going to somehow try and get that in there. There we go, a national size frame with the comb in. This is just temporary though. I'm going to try and slowly, over the course of a few weeks, move this frame to the outside of the hive so they stop using this, and then I can get rid of this. And this frame can go in here. And now we've got to do the same thing with all of this. So this isn't such a great sign. It's pretty much mostly drone brood, which could mean that the queen isn't doing her job properly. Oh no, that's looking a lot better. This is a worker brood. There's currently bees everywhere. You wouldn't want to sit down on this bench. We've nearly got all the frames we need into that box. Exciting news, the people who actually allow me to keep the bees on this farm, they also keep bees down there, and they say they have a swarm, so I'm going to bring the camera along and try and catch it. So I've managed to get as much of the brood frames into the new hive, and now I'm just going to leave it for a bit. We're going to go down, check out the swarm, and then we'll come back later and see if where the bees are at. Hopefully the queen is in the box. That's quite important. If the queen isn't in the box, then it might not work. That is what you need when you're tired, hot and sweaty in a bee suit. That was so good. Let's try and catch a swarm. It is pretty much prime swarming conditions because we've had a load of wet weather recently, which means the bees haven't really wanted to leave the hive. And then we've had this really nice weather today and the bees are just ready to swarm. So this is what a bee swarm looks like. They're just hanging from the tree, and they would have probably come out of one of those two hives there. I reckon, yeah, we'll leave it and see. So we just caught the swarm out of the tree, put it into a new box. Hopefully they'll stay there and call it a home. I hear that sometimes they don't want to stay in the box, so they'll just fly off and find their own home, but we've done the best we can. Like, they hopefully will be happy there. In the meantime, this hive here has calmed down. I'm hoping that the bees are happy with their new home. Well, that is the end of a hectic few hours of beekeeping, trying to catch a swarm, trying to move one hive into another hive. Bees flying everywhere. Luckily, no stings though. We have a bucket full of honey, which I'm going to process when I get home. And next week, I will finish off the requeening process on my hive. So here's the bucket of honey which I managed to pull off that warrior hive. I'm going to process it now. I've got a chopping board and I've got this, which is a cut comb cutter. It's like a little knife, I guess, like an oblong knife which you push into the comb. You get your cut comb box, pop it in, and then push the comb out into the little box. So this is as raw as it gets. Well, that is actually a really nice product because you can see the side view of the comb as well. 20 boxes of honey. I'm gonna give most of this back to the person who gave me the hive. I think that's only fair. And the rest of it I will eat. Just got a delivery in the post. Special delivery guaranteed by 1 PM. If you remember, a week ago, we dequeened the colony. Live bees in transit. Anyway, in here, wow, there's a queen bee. There's not just a queen bee, but there's 9 bees in there. One is the queen. There's a green dot on its head. And those other bees look after the queen. There's some fondant sugar in this side, that's what that white stuff is. Look how quick these ones are moving about. So there we have 2 mated queens. One of them I'm going to put into a split. So I'm going to make a split from one of the other hives and create a brand new colony with a new mated queen. And the other one is going to go into the dequeened colony. And we're going to do all of that over the next couple of days. For now though, they're going to sit in my shaded bedroom out of the sun. And I'm going to give them a little dab of water. And they're going to sit on my desk and chill there for a bit. Stay tuned to see how the introduction to the colonies goes. So these are F1 mated buckfast bees. Buckfast is the strain. F1 means that it is like the first generation, I think. If you bred from these bees, then you'd have F2s. I think that's correct. I don't know much about breeding. The main important thing though is that these have good genetics and they are mated queens. One of the queens is to requeen the hive, which we took the queen out of last week. I'm actually going to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow will be day 8 of the process, which means they won't be able to raise any more queens from the larvae or eggs that they had. The other queen we're going to use today to make up a nuke. Now what we're going to do is we're going to split this hive into 2, or actually 3, because we're going to take 2 splits from this. The process might seem a little complicated, but I will try and make it as visible and clear as possible. First thing we're going to do though is just check through the colony, do a general inspection and see what state the hive are in. I believe they're pretty strong now though, they're building up nicely. I've been going back and forth between using my leather gloves, which I don't ever get stung through, and these nitrile gloves. They don't offer much protection, but they just allow you to be a lot more precise with the frames and your fingers, and you squish less bees, which is good. Ideally, I wouldn't use gloves at all, but I might end up with swollen hands. I think the bees don't sting through these so much because it doesn't feel like skin of an animal. So they're like, why would I bother stinging that? Let's get in the hive. Oh, I should probably light my smoker as well. I'm so unorganised. Oh, hey, we're finally ready. Wow. Yeah, they've built up so much larger than they were even a week ago. Wow. That's every frame in this hive full. Do you remember like a month ago, there was maybe 4 frames, 5 frames? Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Right, we're gonna have just a look through the whole colony and see what we're dealing with. There's lots more male bees now. Oh, wow. So this frame is now full of nectar or food that I've given them, which is a really good sign. It's actually tricky where I am in the shade. Sometimes I need to bring it over to the light so I can see. I'm hoping I don't see any swarm cells, because this frame here is full of brood, full of eggs. Wow, it looks so good. It's kind of tricky to show you exactly what's going on, but in there are thousands of baby bees. I think on one frame there's like 2,000 cells. So there could be nearly 2,000 bees being about to be born in there. This colony is going to be really quite large in a few weeks' time, and they could potentially swarm if I'm not careful. I'm kind of half expecting to see swarm cells in here, because it's the right time of year for it. They built some of this comb on the edge there, which I'm just going to take off. That's drone brood. they'll turn that into male bees. No sign of the queen yet, but that's all right. I don't think they've swarmed yet, because a week ago there weren't any swarm cells. And the bees are pretty calm actually, quite easy to deal with. There's another frame just full of brood. Wow. I'm seeing a few of these play cups. They're basically queen cells, but they haven't drawn them out yet. They're kind of small. Because if one frame of brood can turn into 3 frames of bees, that's like 3, 6, 9. Gosh, they're going to be huge. And once again, a whole frame. This is all capped over brood. I shook some of the bees off so you can see. That'll all hatch out in the next week or so. Yeah, it's like 21 days from a worker bee being born till it emerges and hatches. Basically, all of that is looking real good. Right, I want to find the queen, and I want to double check there's definitely no queen cells in here. Oh, I see the queen. Why is she always on the last frame I look at? I think she's just constantly running away. We're going to catch her in the little cage so she's safe. And she's doing a brilliant job. She can just sit there while we do our manipulations. So there's no swarm cells, which is good. They're not swarming yet, but I think they will if I don't give them more space or do something. So we're gonna do some manipulations. Let me get some equipment out my van. So these are nuke boxes. This top one is one that I made this winter. I'm not very good at DIY, but I managed to put this together. And this one is one that I bought for I think 30 quid. Basically, it was more expensive to make them myself. Now that we know the queen is safe here, we can go through the hive and take out some frames and put them in these 2 nuke boxes. We're taking 2 splits from this. Each one needs a frame of food and a frame of brood. Got a frame of food, that goes in. Okay, that's a full frame of brood. That can go in here. So that is all good apart from one thing that it needs. It needs a queen. Now I'm going to do these 2 differently. I'm going to put a mated queen in one of them, and in the other one I'm going to let them raise a queen themselves. So this one needs also some eggs. There's plenty of eggs inside there. So that's that one made up. Now we need to do this one. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. A frame of food, a frame of brood, and this one isn't going to get any more because that's getting a queen straight away, and the queen will quickly, hopefully, lay eggs into the comb that is in there. So we're going to take the queen, put her there. Now we're not going to release the tabs on this. We're just going to introduce her slowly over the next week. So this hive we can now put back together. It's obviously missing a few frames now, but that's fine. We're going to replace that with these frames, which they will clean up. This is all drawn comb, which is really handy. So this hive, you can now see, they've got loads more space. There's one last thing I'm going to do before this is all over. First I'm going to release the queen. Okay, so the queen is now out. This hive we're going to move over there. Now all the bees that were living in this hive will know this as their entrance. So over some time, loads of bees will start flying back to here. Now a way that you can sort of slow swarming down is by separating the queen from the flying bees. So the queen is in that box, and all the flying bees remember this is their home. So we will deplete that box of flying bees, and they will all come and live, hopefully, split between these boxes. Now what I'm going to do with this queen is pop her inside. You can actually hang the queen cage down. One more frame to go in here. Okay, that is the start of the splitting process. That one has a queen, which has been mated. That one hasn't, but I've given them a frame of eggs so that they can make a new queen. So that one, in how long does it take for a queen to emerge? 16 days. In 16 days, that one should have a queen hatch out. It will be a virgin queen, but then it will fly out and mate, and then come back to the hive, and hopefully it will be all good. This one here has the mated queen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a week, go back into the hive, check that they haven't built any other queen cells, because you can't have two queens. Break down the queen cells, open the tabs on the queen cage, and then let the queen free in there. The hive over there, which was looking pretty congested, now has a lot less brood in it and a lot less bees. All the flying bees are going to fly out of there, come back to these hives, split between the two. These two hives should build up really quick. We'll put them in full-size end, and then by the end of summer we should have some extra really nice colonies that then next year we can get honey crop off. So it's such a long process, and you're really looking forward into the future when you're doing these manipulations. Anyway, I'm standing in the flight path. I'm going to move out of the way. We're going to check inside this hive now, the one that came out of the Warre hive. I finally managed to find the queen in this colony, and although she is viable, she is laying eggs, both worker and drone brood. She's laying so many drone brood and not many worker brood, which is a sign that she is slowly failing. So I think I'm going to replace her as well. Seems brutal, I know, but it is for the greater good. Tomorrow I'm going to add the second queen to the colony which we were requeening last week, and I'm going to finish off the requeening of this hive in a week's time. Gosh, so much going on, I don't even know if I can keep it all in my head. Busy day of beekeeping. I'm getting ready for more expansion. The aim by the end of this winter is to have all these hive stands full of bees. So 8 days ago we made this colony queenless, and today we are going to go in there and get rid of all the queen cells which they've made, because once they go queenless they want to make a new queen. But of course we don't want them to make their own queen, because we've got queen here in this cage. So we're going to open up this hive, get rid of all the queen cells, and then add the queen into the hive. And they might be a bit angry because they often do get a little bit more crazy when they don't have a queen in there to keep them sane. And so we've got to be really careful that we spot every single queen cell, because if they have any queen cells in here then it won't work introducing a new one. They'll just kill one of them. They've got a lot of food stored in here, which is good. And when there's loads of bees in it like this, it's hard to see them, but you can just give them a shake. And then by shaking it, you can see, and there's another one there. There's 2 frames of food, plenty of queen cells on there. So those 2 cells there, you can see, are very different from the worker brood. Worker brood, queen cells, much longer. Those are emergency cells, which the bees built in response to the queen disappearing. But we're going to get rid of them now. It's a little bit sad getting rid of them, but you simply can't requeen a colony if you have queen cells, because they will then have more than one queen, which isn't going to work. So we're going to go through this whole colony now, looking really carefully and getting rid of all the queen cells we find. These bees are actually really calm, which I'm surprised about. I thought without a queen they'd be a bit crazy. Check out those. They're proper long queen cells. And then we've got 3 more on this side. So I've removed all the queen cells from this colony here, and whilst looking through, there are so many frames of brood which will emerge in the next week or so. Basically, very soon that box is going to be stacked full of bees, which is really good if we want a honey crop. But I did say to myself that I want to expand the apiary this year, and that is sort of my preference over a large honey crop. And we could, that's big enough to split into 2 colonies like we did with the other one recently. However, I've only got 1 box on me currently, so I'm going to take a couple of frames out of this hive, put it in the new box. But I'm going to leave this one to get stronger, and then maybe we can then take another split from it later on. Because we're going to be moving this box away, lots of the bees will fly from here back to this entrance. So we want kind of a few more bees in this hive than we think that we need, because a lot of them will leave. That's the one. Oh yeah, that is all brood, and that's going to go in here. So this is a really small split. It's just a frame of brood which will hatch out, and then a frame of food to keep them going, and then around the brood area we've got these drawn combs. They're from last year. Actually, before I put any of those in, I'm going to shake some bees out of this. 2, 3. I think that should do. And then this colony we will give a queen next week. Luckily I've got a really good supplier, good bee dealer. Lid goes on. So we've got the new queen. I'm not going to pop the tabs open just yet, I'm going to leave it in there for a couple of days first. Whoa. Instantly they're getting very excited. Poking a stick through. You can use a cocktail stick for this, that's what I see most people use. And then over the next couple of days, the bees will hopefully get used to her being in there. And then we can pop the tabs open and then they can eat their way through. So this split, which came from the hive over there, lots of them will fly out and go back there. But what I'm going to do, to slow them down a bit, I'm going to stuff a load of grass in the entrance. Not too tightly, just enough so that it slows them down. I think I've heard that if you make their time getting out of there a little bit challenging and confuse them a bit, they are more likely to reorientate to this new space rather than going back to the old site. I'm going to put a big block on top of the hive so it doesn't go anywhere. The only thing I'm concerned about is sometimes there's horses in here, which did knock over one of my hives in the winter. So by putting a block on there, it's just nice and secure. Lovely, we just made a new colony. This will need a queen as soon as possible. Because this is queenless, and it has been for a week, we can add a queen whenever. And I'm actually going to go up and meet up with Lawrence from Black Mountain Honey next week. So we're going to meet up with him, get a few more of his queens so we can requeen this hive. Nice, job done for the day. Cool. I'm going to go and have a barbecue, I think. So it's 2 days after we put this queen cage in, and it's time to pop the tabs. You've got these 2 plastic tabs here which stop the bees from getting inside, like these bees. So we break that open and then it opens up to the fondant sugar. So now the bees in the hive can chew through there, and then the queen can escape out into the colony. And what we're going to do now is put this back in its place and leave it for 7 days. And then as soon as the queen has got out, she can start laying eggs. So we'll check in with this hive in about a week. So that's it for this beekeeping video. I'll keep filming the progression of the hives throughout this summer because so much is happening now, and I'll keep you updated with everything that happens. Cheers for watching everyone, I'll see you soon for another video.